I mean, there's ways we are trying to justify, going back to Buff's statement about generations. We try to justify their actions and certain things. We were talking about this the other day. Is we kind of he jokes about we got to bring back shaming. We got to bring back just having standards and like not just being okay with everything everybody presents as, well, that's just them. They doing them. There are repercussions on the society as a whole because we start normalizing everything. What's wrong these days? Only thing wrong is about telling somebody they're wrong. That's the only thing that is wrong in society right now is telling somebody that they're wrong. What up, what up, what up, what up? It's Three Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast. I am Ferg, joined my co-host, Big Money Buff. And what's wrong, Rozzy?
What's wrong, Rozzy?
Because Rozzy gonna say something wrong.
Very brave to leave that comment on the show last week, by the way, too, bro.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna even mention what comment. If the listeners missed it, then good. I just got two quick things, man. First, I'm always hesitant to say happy Day of Remembrance.
Right.
Whatever. And I know most people just are glad to be off work. So however you celebrate or whatever, enjoy it, I guess. I know I am. But I just want to talk about Instagram real quick. There's a group called Design It For Us who tested Instagram's teen model. They're supposed to have it to where if you're a teen, there are certain things that you can't see on Instagram. There are certain posts that are blocked from you. And they tested it and said that that's not true. It's failing. Many users were able to access like porn type of photos and just very raunchy things that they shouldn't be seeing that should be only for adults. So Meta is going to have to work on that feature a bit more. But I will say this, if you're a parent and you're just really worried about that, you probably just have to make the decision not to let your teen on Instagram at all, if you can. Because to trust these companies, these big tech companies like Meta and some of the others, I mean, it's a gamble. And I'm sure there's always a loophole around a lot of that stuff anyway.
These kids are way too smart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just wanted to give the parents a heads up on that. And speaking of Instagram, man, we talked about the New Orleans escapee last week. 10 of them escaped the New Orleans prison. Have they caught all of them yet, or like only?
It was 11, and they just caught the last one like 2 days ago. So yeah.
This generation, man, look, don't paint me as a typical old head, because you can ask Ferg. I defend y'all a lot. I defend the young generation probably more than I should have. But y'all are obsessed with social media. Y'all can't do anything that's not recorded on social media. You break out of jail and you go IG live?
Right.
What's wrong with you, man? And many times we've already seen like these young people that literally film their crimes. I talked about a crime up here that had been taking place that happened like October a couple of years ago, where these 3 young girls beat a man damn near to death. No, they did. They did beat him to death. Mm-hmm. Filmed it and recorded it and posted it. Like,
bragging.
Y'all, is it a disease? Is it a sickness? Yeah. I don't understand.
It is. I mean, they're talking about social media addictions and stuff like this, the need for likes and love or whatever, that as almost like an addiction. Mm-hmm. Not even almost, it's an addiction. That is the fear now, is that it's technology as a whole, the screen time, the scrolling, the need for the connections. I mean, it's amazing they get away with anything, right?
Everything is about bragging and proving that you've done something, even if it's to the detriment of your own freedom.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, they're gonna get caught eventually. Either, I guess what it is, either stay in jail or get a little freedom for a while and be social media famous and go back to jail, right? Like, right. Either way, end result, guess what? You're in jail,
right?
You know.
I forgot what the percentage is, but the number one job that young people want is to be an influencer.
And it's dangerous. I mean, it's dangerous because they're doing so much for it. And it looks so easy. It seems like it is.
By the way, to be a successful influencer, it is not easy.
It's not easy. It's a lot of work. I have friends that are actual influencers, right? And you know, one of them, she was saying, she's like, it's exhausting. It's like always you wake up. It's like being an entrepreneur. You wake up thinking about content. What am I going to post? Did I post enough? Did I post to all the social media platforms?
I don't even know if they're enjoying. Like, are they even enjoying themselves when they're at, like, I need to be careful because I don't want to give away any type of, put it like this. I know somebody who knows somebody who says when they go places, all they want to do is pretty much take pictures and then they leave. And so when they post, it looked like they had the time of their life, but all they really did, and we saw that firsthand for Alice's birthday in Miami. The Versace, like, how many pictures did she take?
I know, but she was up there 30, 40 minutes. I mean, she held up she held the line, and that's what's so scary.
And we're not exaggerating, man. It was that long.
Vegas, same thing. We were in Vegas, right, at the club, and it was just like, boom, you get in there VIP, and you can't even enjoy the club because people, they taking pictures and everything else and making videos. It's like, just enjoy the vibe.
Yeah. The fact that they have portable ring lights and all this stuff, like it is so. I'm not offending any of them. I know. But the thing about it is, we wonder. To me, I was like, all this is connected to the disconnect and dating and just real life and all that stuff. So there's all these challenges that we were facing anyway, and I'm just so scared of what the future. My kids act like they're, Sky had a little camera or whatever, and she would act like she was an influencer. She's like, yeah, this is my brother TJ, and like she's recording stuff. Like, and I mean, I had to go back and delete so much footage because it took up all our memory. It took up all our data. And it's scary because it just seems so easy, and a lot of people are talking about the most frivolous things. And
I mean, we say that, but we are technically influencers, right?
We dedicate about an hour, but I think there's a difference, right?
Right.
Oh, it's levels to it. It's levels to it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not doing this to influence the culture. This is therapeutic to me. I get a chance to connect with my homeboys weekly. And I mean, if it helps somebody, great. If not, then I realized a long time ago, for however long this goes, all our kids will have this time capsule of what was going on in their father's lives almost on a weekly basis, right? So we've been doing this since 2019. We're 6 years in. So 52 weeks out of the year, we're probably at 90%. There's hundreds of episodes. There's hundreds of episodes from like the death of parents, like Rozzy, your kids are going to go back and be able to listen to, their mom, right? That's one thing. And then
that's wild.
That's
wild.
Yeah. Like, to me, that alone is, we get nothing else from that. There's that, right? That's it. Like, if that is the pinnacle of success for this podcast, that's the only good thing that comes from it, I will be a happy man. And for years, our kids can always go back and listen to this.
Yeah.
You want to know who your dad was? That's your dad. My dad was an asshole.
Right. But he was proud of me, right?
My dad was 17% racist.
He was excited when I made that A on that map test, right? Or whatever. It's like we actually feed into our kids and say, I'm proud of you, I love you all the time. And so that is dope. I didn't even kind of think about that either. That's dope.
Yeah.
So if you go on social media, and Rob, I feel like I'm a student of people. I love to watch and understand people. And that's kind of why this came along, is my algorithm. There's always these things where it's like this book, or if your dad is still alive, your mom's, get this book and ask some questions and all this stuff. And because I'm pretty sure there's things about them that we never got to know. You know, we saw them as parents, but understanding them as individuals, what was going on, what were their hot takes, you know, what was their Rushmore of music and all this stuff. Yeah, my mom like Gladys Knight and Pippen. Nah, I really like Sly, you know, Sly and Family Stone. Like, you don't know, you know what you know, but there's so many things. So our kids will get this chance to see us outside of that father, like, you know, that father thing bucket they put us in, or box they put us in. So my bad, Buck. We hijacked your whole.
I hope mine will be able to see. I hope all of our kids will be able to see the growth we had, like from takes we had in 2019 to now, how it's evolved, man. But that's all I got, man. I just thought that was just the addiction that these young people have to. And listen, I always say I'm happy social media wasn't around when I was in high school. So I'm not saying that my generation is any better than you guys, but it just happened to come out during your generation, and it's all you know. And I'm telling you, y'all are addicted. So, man.
Yeah, love it, man. No, good. First thing I want to say is I was able to check out Forever, and you were right, Buff. Dope show, man. Dope show. Wood Harris deserves all the awards. The show deserves all the awards. It is good, and it is teenage drama, but it's teenage drama that I've never like seen it from that angle where there's something for everybody to be able to watch it. Like the kids, they piss you off as a parent, but the kids are probably looking at it like, that's my life. Like that's how it happens, right? You talk about social media and everything, blocking, unblocking and everything. We couldn't block nobody. You know, they could call your house anytime they wanted to.
Yeah, it was star 60 something where you can block a call or something like that.
So, you know, just all of that, it's so good, man. There's so many points in there. So listeners, I just want to echo what Buff said. Go out and watch that show, man. It is dope. It is super dope. Yes, now that I've gave flowers out, I got to talk about y'all folks and how y'all don't like to pay y'all bills. So not only did Klarna, they are $135 million in debt because y'all don't want to pay y'all Klarna bills. Y'all Afterpay bills, all that. Y'all need to go out and y'all need to pay them bills. Y'all bought that stuff. Y'all got it delivered. And now y'all like, you know what? Y'all should have checked my credit. Oh, well. And then you be mad when your credit messed up and you can't get a car or somebody who do check your credit. Like, y'all gonna mess it up. Y'all gonna mess it up for everybody. Like, now can't nobody go and do their little Afterpay stuff because y'all don't want to pay them back. So Klarna probably is going to end up bankrupt because they already are $135 million in debt. And folks are just like, meh, no, oh well. And y'all not going to pay y'all bills. So, and because y'all not paying y'all bills and we got a crazy ass president, Moody's has downgraded the United States of America. So our credit rating took a hit based on that. Now, it was a little bit symbolic. Moody's was the last rating agency to have us as a top rating, but that is symbolic of what's happening. It's kind of like that doomsday clock there. We're one step closer to failing as being the world currency and stuff like that. So that is a big, big deal to have the U.S. credit rating downgraded. And it really comes down because of uncertainty. Donald Trump.
Raza, before you go too far, I was hoping, can you explain Klarna to all our listeners? You never assume.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So for the folks who don't know what Klarna is or Afterpay, it is the Fingerhut of today. So to the older crowd out there who might not understand, what it does is it lets you break up your payments over, say, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 10 weeks. It's almost like a payday loan or something like that, where you're able to go online and you pay with Klarna. And so now it is a credit where, oh shit. Like it's a credit where they Klarna will pay for whatever you're trying to check out, and you can use Klarna for anything. You can use it for DoorDash. You can use it for buying some pizza. Yeah, like a lot of different places accept like Klarna and Afterpay and those types of things. You can break up a $15 payment if you need to into 3 or 4 payments, but they don't check your credit. And so that's their downfall, is they're giving it, they let anybody who signs up do this. So they're floating money and they're getting discounts, and I don't know how they're actually making money because they're not collecting deposits like Cash App or somebody else is to give credit. But they're giving people credit. They're letting them pay. I assume there's a fee for that is what I assume. And that's how they're trying to make their money off of the fees. I've never used it, so I don't necessarily know how it works. I just know that you can break up your payments. But I assume it's not a equal 0% interest. Like if it's $15, you're probably going to pay $17 over the 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And that's how they're, trying to make their money off of the fees. So that's how Klarna works. But again, they don't check your credit. And so they don't know how trustworthy these folks are to actually like pay them back. But obviously, it's not a very good business model. And that's why banks and reputable lending agencies check your credit.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for them. I mean, if you let people break up $15 bills, I mean, that's just like if you go to an ATM at 3 a.m, it should come with like a warning, like, you sure you need this? like there's no way you should be able to break up a 15. If you got to break up a $15 bill, bro, it's not your time. It's not your time. But I thought Klarna, because I used it. I don't know if I used Afterpay or Klarna for this concert Jasmine wanted to go to last year, and it was like right after the school year, so I didn't want to buy the tickets full outright until I knew she was going to do everything she was supposed to do at school. But I thought they link it to like a card or an account, and they just automatically withdraw. So do. How are people getting out of pain?
You have faith that there's money available. That and the fact that you have faith there's money in that account. They can't hit nothing they can't hit. So when I used to work for a unnamed rental car company, we would have a credit or debit card on file. And you had that card on file just in case you needed additional payments. So when you sign the contract, if the deposit was $350, your rental for that week was $250, but you don't bring it back, and once that $350 credit is used, we have the ability to go back and tag that card. You might tag it once, you might be able to get $50, $60 at it. You go back and tag it again. If you only got, we've all been at that point. We only had so much in the bank, right? You had $112 in the bank. You took tab out, spent $72. And, you got $40. You put $20 in the baby Hummer. You got $20. You go grab something to eat. You got $5 left, and somebody go hit you for $8. Your day is gone. that day is gone. Like there's nothing else. There's nothing else you can do, right? And so that was, we ran into that a lot. And there's a reason apps like that and payday loans and stuff. And Razi said it messes up people's credit, and they're mad. I don't think so. I think a lot of people are okay with subpar credit.
Yeah. And more than likely, the folks that are using that in the broad sense probably don't have a credit card to put it on. They probably already have bad credit to use, right? Because that's what you have to weigh out is like, is it cheaper to put it on my credit card and pay the interest on my credit card, or is it cheaper to use Klarna or Afterpay there and pay their fee, right? And so that's really what you're kind of looking at.
Or is it a chance for me to get something I can't afford any other way? I think that's probably what it comes down to, and that's the reason they're going, they're what you said, $150 million, what, some random
136 million.
Yeah. So, and I say this and I laugh because I've been there. I've been that person. There was no Klarna and stuff, but even when I say being okay with bad credit, it wasn't that I was never okay with it. I normalized it and didn't think there was another option, right? So the goal was to get what I needed. If there was an opportunity I could take advantage of, then I took advantage of that situation. So they gonna give you $500 and you got 2 months to pay it back, and if you don't pay it back, they just gonna close it. All right, I'm gonna try to pay it back, but it's not the first. I'm pretty sure Klarna is not the first person they haven't paid back.
Right. Well, and that's why I say they're messing it up for the folks who really need it. Right. There are people that, to your point, I need Klarna, but if you're like, oh, it's $15 and you just don't need it, but hey, my kids are hungry, we need some McDonald's and I ain't got it no other way. I'm gonna put it on this app and I'm gonna use Klarna and I'll pay it back in a couple days, right? Or something like that. Like they're our options there, right? I need groceries and I'm gonna put my shipped order or my Instacart order on Klarna because that's the only way we're gonna get groceries right now. Like there are people who that legitimately kind of need that because that's the only way they're gonna get what they need.
If you're broke, don't use Shipt or Instacart. You can't afford it.
Don't buy McDonald's either.
I mean, there's ways we are trying to justify, going back to Buff's statement about generations. We try to justify their actions and certain things. We were talking about this other day. Is we kind of, he jokes about we got to bring back shaming. We got to bring back just having standards and like not just being okay with everything everybody presents as, well, that's just them. They doing them. There are repercussions on the society as a whole because we start normalizing everything. What's wrong these days? Only thing wrong is about telling somebody they're wrong. That's the only thing that is wrong in society right now is telling somebody that they're wrong. There's nothing wrong.
No, I mean, but I look at if there is, I can't get groceries because I can't go to the grocery store and get it, but I can use Instacart and use Klarna to get groceries, right? Like if that's the only, I'm not saying, oh, you're broke, so use Instacart. It's like you can use Instacart and with Klarna, or you can not get groceries because I can't afford groceries.
What were they using? What were they doing before Klarna and Instacart? There was a time before the great.
Go get a payday loan. Or before then, I mean, hell, they might steal it. Like, there are instances. I'm not
trying to demonize those people. I'm just saying, like, I think we made life too easy where there's too many outs. I look at, and we're getting all off sidetrack, but like I look at, I was watching something about kids and like schoolwork. Like it was a skit where it was basically saying, hey teacher, can I get some extra credits? Like, let's not worry about extra credit. You're missing 17 you're missing 17 assignments. Yeah, but what would my grade be if I just did the extra credit? And the fact that they're like, I don't want to do what you told me to do. I want to do it this way. And it's in a skit. I get it. But at the same time, I don't really remember teachers giving us an option. If this paper was due on Friday, you had to be probably an exceptional student for her to give you until Monday or somebody Monday to turn that in. And you were going to take an L on that. So if it was an A paper, you might get a B. Mm-hmm. You might get a C. Like, hey, any late papers after Friday, I'm going to give you to Tuesday. You're going to lose 10 points a day. You knew that going in. Now it seems there are a lot of students that feel like the assignment and the due date are all optional. And when I look at the grades, I'll adjust as I need. And I think we're in that environment where it's just like, hey, this is the path to success. These are the only options. You have 21 assignments. You got to turn them all in on time. If you don't, you're probably going to fail this class. I know kids that are sitting there like, yeah, I got a D in this class, but when I turn in these assignments, I'm going to go up to A. That's not how life works. Or maybe it is.
It kind of is now. Yeah.
Yeah, like you say, but I think it's the Klarnas and everything else. So let's keep going.
Cool,
Alexa.
And finally, all I have, man, is for the diabetics out there. There is a study right now in China that they were able to cure type 1 and type 2 diabetes using stem cell research, and so that's kind of cool. They were able to inject the cells with like the fat would produce insulin, and so like you were able to produce insulin on your own by them kind of using that stem cell to change how the fat or the cells in your body produce insulin, and they were able to reverse diabetes type 1 and type 2, which is difficult, especially with type 1 because you're born with that. So it's kind of cool that there are options out there, and again, going back to why stem cell research is so important, why we should be allowing it, and going back to why we need research, right? Nobody is going to be researching how to cure diabetes because pharmaceutical companies don't make money on curing things. They make money on treating things. And so without government funded research, a lot of times you're not going to get stuff like this. And again, that's why we're so up in arms about the budget cuts, about the cuts to education and everything. The House passed this big, beautiful bill, as Donald Trump calls it. I'm praying and hoping that the Senate comes to their senses and they don't allow it, because it has some really, really scary stuff in there. And we can kind of break that down a little bit later. But ultimately, man, one of the biggest things in there is stopping funding for research and medical research and things like that, because they're trying to privatize it. But again, that's not going to cure a lot of things in the future. So we need to do this. If not, it's going to be other countries that are funding this research that get the benefit of it and reap the benefits of it. And then what they're going to do is they're going to start selling those cures to us, and people will still buy them, but we won't actually be able to, we'll maybe use them. They get to kind of hold it as leverage. And on top of that, we're going to be paying them much, much more for it because it wasn't developed in our country. So again, folks, the long haul and the long-term effects are really, really hard to see when you talk about these short-term budgets and short-term spending, but they are very, very important. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So a little bit of good news, but at the same time, a little cautionary tale.
Well, speaking on healthcare and all this stuff, I don't know if you guys saw that buzz. At one point, I've seen it a couple of times where they're talking about the dangers of eating reheating or leftover rice. Yeah. I saw it a couple of times. I forgot about it, but then Kev on stage brought it up a few. He had an opinion on it, and he talked about big rice being at it again. Big rice being at it again because they want you just to buy more rice. And like we all grew up probably on some leftover rice dishes our whole lives. Mama make a pot of rice, and that rice lasts 2-3 days. Mm-hmm. And then most fried rice is made from day-old rice. And there's researchers showing there's no real dangers if handled properly, because rice is one of those, TCS, I think temperature, what does TCS stands for? I used to know this. Time/temperature control for safety food. So it's like one of those things where, if it's handled properly, it's okay. So he was like, Big Rice had it again, so Big Tupperware need to come back and fight it and just talk about the importance of Tupperware and how Tupperware's been keeping people safe for years. So it was just funny because it's one of those things where I keep going back to the show on Netflix, Turning Point, where it just talks about how at a certain point the country started mistrusting the government. And now when I see news articles about the government, even the Diddy trial, I don't know what to believe anymore. It's so hard to believe anything. I think to be in the age of information, we're probably the most informed group of people ever, because it's so much, or misinformed or uninformed, because it's almost scary to listen to anything because you just don't know what is right and what is wrong. And I'm apologize. I probably went on a little rant today talking about generations and being just upset with people because it's just prom season does it to me every year now. So
Rosie, I think you're on mute.
I am. I'm talking to Sophie.
Oh.
Okay. My bad. You saw me stop. I'm like, prom season did it to me again, man. Every year in prom season, it just gets crazier and crazier on how far we're taking things. And of course, everything ends up on social media. So there was a kid in Houston who took $100,000 in cash to the prom, in a bag. From like, we ain't even 18 and we out here getting money.
Did he leave with it?
Yes, he did. And that actually is what a lot of the posts like you
wouldn't have been Mobile.
And that is exactly the comments, like, oh, they nice in Houston. They nice. Yeah, people like not and everybody repping their city, not in Memphis, not in Detroit. You can't do that in Mobile. But it's just like, how did we get here? And then there was a young lady who had a prom dress made out of $100 bills, and it's just it made me think of the show you were talking about. What was it that you were talking about? Did you just watch? I can't think of it. Forever. We started watching part of it yesterday. We were at some friend's house, and they kind of had it going in the background, so I caught probably 70-80% of it. I think I got the gist, but it's just the world they live in is so different. Mm-hmm. And it's, at what point do we, allow them to, grow and leave their mark on society versus us adjusting society as a whole to their wants and whims, because this is becoming ridiculous. Mm-hmm. I can't, for the life of me, I can't understand why a kid would need $100,000 in a book bag to show up to the prom. Even if they got it, they're not and I'm going to go on a limb. They're probably not that rich, right? I don't see rich or wealthy people having their kids show up with $100,000 in a book bag.
It's new money versus old money.
And is it money? Like, is it a settlement? I don't know. And in my mind, it's like, how, why? And it just discourages me. So I'm kind of in a funk right now. So bear with me, listeners. And Byron says, maybe he should be a little more. Feel free to judge, Buff. We need more judge. We need more. And the reason I say that is because I remember, for me growing up, and even to this day, one of my biggest fears, and as my family gets larger and there's more people that come in my circle, is I never want to disappoint or embarrass my mom or my dad, right? Those are some of my motivating factors. And now that has extended out to my wife and my kids. I want to be somebody they can be proud of. And so it's not.
The mom was holding the bag in that post, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about disappointed mom, I look at that too. What was Weebay's baby mama when she was trying to, on The Wire, when she was trying to make the son get out on the corners? I mean, there are women out there, there's moms out there, and I think that's what we're dealing with right there.
But at some point, somebody should have judged her. Like, the judgment stops too soon somewhere.
I was thinking Boosie would absolutely let his son do that.
And think about it, and he probably should have been judged. And then when they get robbed, like, your first response is not in Mobile, right? And then we want to, like, it's a shame that a kid can't walk around with $100,000 flexing on social media like they used to do back in the day. The streets ain't safe. You're asking to be robbed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't condone violence. I don't think anybody deserves violence. But this is kind of like, you know what? Somebody got to get got. And you did a lineup of who should get got. I'm like, okay, old lady walking down the street with her purse. No, nigga walking around with $100,000 in his bag going to the prom. Okay, put a finger in that one like that. Like, what else we have? Like, if somebody got to get got, that's the person.
Right.
Or their kids. I get it. But they're kids. So let's keep the party going. Sophie's not here. Rizzy, we've been going over time, so you don't have time for a joke.
Okay. That's fine. I'll slip one in at some point. Don't worry. It's coming.
All righty. Who wants to go first this week?
Hopefully it'll be safe for TV this time.
One of y'all didn't get a question last week. I think Rizzy did.
Was it me? Okay. All right. That's fine. Well, I sent you guys a video of my question. And so to the listeners out there, there's a video of the mom that's taking she had bought a PlayStation for her kids, and she's taking the PlayStation back so that she can return it, so she can get the $500 because the son's birthday had come and he got birthday money, and she asked him for the birthday money to use it to pay the light bill, and because the lights were about to get cut off. He said no, she couldn't use his birthday money. So she said, okay, well, I'm taking the PlayStation back so that we can pay the light bill and stuff with it. Because she's like, I'm tired. I need help. I'm doing everything I can, but y'all not going to be in there, playing the PlayStation while I'm struggling. And she's like, and the lights get turned off. You can't play your PlayStation anyway. So, and the kids were kind of going back at it. And they were like, Mom, you got to stop going out so often. In the video, she had her nails done. She had jewelry, on. All this stuff, and she's still saying, I'm taking your PlayStation back instead of giving up anything.
And so there was two kids in the back. It was the son and the daughter spoke up on behalf of the son. That's who was like, Mom, you got to stop going out. Like, it's like, you need to stay in a child's place. And like, well, you're putting us in an adult place because you're asking us for money.
Right.
And so that was there. She's like, you going out, you need to start spending your money on us versus spending your money and going out and all these other stuff. There's a reason you need to ask for this money. So
yeah.
I think there was both her kids kind of,
they were dropping dimes. They were making valid points. But I wanted to ask you fellas on, as a parent, would that be something you would ever do? Is, hey, we got to give up something, and yes, it might be your PlayStation or whatever, because I got this thing that's happening and we got to make ends meet. We got to make this thing work. And just so happens that I'm within 30 days and I can take this back and I can get this $500 back. right? Versus having to pawn something and get less money for it, blah, 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 blah. I can actually get the refund for this. So do you guys see a time that you would need to do that? And do you think that's fair? Would you make that sacrifice and pawn and do whatever you need to do with your stuff versus going ahead and just taking that device or whatever back and getting a full refund for it?
Okay, I've been the bad guy so far, so I'll keep the party going. It's hard for me to speak on that now because of, let's be honest, our financial situation.
Right.
Right. Like
right.
It's and so I don't want to come off as like holier than thou, but I will say as a man that's, you know, I think there's a lot of ways to look at this, right? Because I don't think men even kind of have that option, right? Like you're almost seen as a failure as a husband or a father if you got to do that. But just as a parent as a whole, I don't think I would ever do that. But if let's say I was in that situation when that was the only option, I don't even think that would ever be an option because there's so
hard,
many
right?
things. No, because there's so many things to consider unless something shit just hit the fan, right? It's the fact that, like the kid said, you're going out, you're doing all these things, you have jewelry, you have your nails are freshly done. I think our hair looked done, all this stuff. And you bought a $500 PlayStation 30 days ago, right? Your financial situation usually doesn't change that fast.
Mm-hmm.
Where, how long did it take me to buy my?
Oh yeah, it was what, almost a year or 6 months, something like that. Yeah.
And I make pretty good money. What I'm saying is, this is probably not the first time. You know, the decisions weren't being made. You know, the money wasn't being handled properly, and the kids see firsthand. Because I'm gonna take it a step further. As we're all men, we were all sons. We all had our moms in our lives. If it would have got to the point my mom needed money like that, because I saw her working and struggling and doing everything she could do for us to survive, hands down, as a young man, I would have gave that to her.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, mom, you know, I would have gave her the birthday money. I would have gave her
my check from McDonald's, like whatever it is.
Just because I never had to do that, but I still helped my mom out. I never had to do that, but I saw my mom work her butt off to do what we had, to give us what we had. And for, you know, the kids to kind of say like, Mama, you could have did more. You're doing the bare minimum, and now you're using us as a scapegoat or a crutch. I in my whole life, I never thought my mom used me as a scapegoat or a crutch. So I want to turn over to Buff because he looks very annoyed with my answer.
I'm sorry, bro. It wasn't you. I actually didn't watch the video when Rozzy first sent it, and I tried to watch it as you were answering, and I had the bell. It was pissing me off so much. I heard most of what you said, man, and I definitely agree. Here's the thing, man. Where do I begin? First off, why is this shit filmed? Like that's what we talk about.
She wants somebody to agree with her.
Like, and look, listen, man. Like her first said, he doesn't want to come off holding it. Listen, I'm somebody. I film things when I go out of town or whatever. I like to make TikToks or whatever, and so I get filming your experience. I think out of all of us, Ferg is probably the least filmer. He don't film.
I'm in the moment, man. I'm enjoying it.
I get filming things, but like Tab and I almost got in an argument this morning. I ain't filming. like,
am I right or wrong, Facebook?
Yeah. That part just like when I saw it, and I'm like, so that set me off. But to answer your question, man, let's take it from the kid's point of view. If that was me and my mom, I definitely would have done it. At the end of the day, we need lights. We don't have lights. What good is the PlayStation? So we need that shit. But I can't fathom a situation because this wasn't an emergency. This wasn't something that caught her off guard. This is a regular, recurring, monthly bill.
That you're 90 days behind on, right? If it's about to get turned off.
So why in the hell did you buy the PlayStation in the first place when you're on the brink of not being able to pay, or like Rozzy just said, you hadn't paid the bill in 3 months already? So all of it is stupid. And I know we're not allowed to say that anymore, but first off, I always have to say with these kind of things, if it's real, because it's filmed.
Yeah.
If it's real, everybody in the scenario is stupid. The kids are stupid because you can't play a PlayStation without power. The mom is stupid because you're 3 months behind on the power bill, but you're getting your nails and your hair done and you're going out and you're buying your son a $500 gaming system. Everybody's stupid. And so that's my answer. Everybody is stupid. And I hope the lights get turned off.
They're going to get turned off next month.
Or 3 months from now, right?
Yeah,
like when she don't pay it for the next 30 days, 90 days.
That was my thing is, man, the kids don't see the bigger picture. They rarely do, They don't understand the value of a dollar and all this stuff. But yet and still, like, I'm with you, but like, yeah, the lights got to be on. And so, like, I think I would have been willing to make that sacrifice to keep the lights on, to take the burden off my mom because she's doing everything she can. When you're doing everything you can, I got your back 100. I got your back 100. I got your back 100%. Because what are the light bills? Is a light bill $500 exactly? Like, what is this gonna do?
So I don't know. You guys know I'm all about nuance there, right? And so the situation versus the history of it all, I separate a little bit, right? Yes, the mom is trash, right? To have your nails done, and not just a regular set. So listeners out there, as the kids say, chat, listen. So not only was it just like a regular set of nails done, like, $35, $40, she had like designs on it with rhinestones. Like it was like $150 set, right? Of nails on there. And so
that's 3 PS5 games.
Yeah, she deserves to feel good about herself, Rozzy.
Okay.
Stop nail shaming, Rozzy.
I'm not at all. If you can afford it, do it, right? But that's my whole talk or point on this is that sunk cost in business. We talk about it all the time. That money's gone. It's sunk cost. I have to worry about the situation right now today, right? And so for that, me as a parent, no matter what bad decisions I made in the past, if this is the thing, if this the answer for the situation now, having that conversation with the kids. And I think she was really kind of straight up with them. Like, look, I'm doing what I can, everything I can, even though she's lying and she's wrong. She's not doing everything she can, but she's having it in her mind. That's everything that she can do. And this is her like correction for it, right? Here's her solution is I'm going to get that back. And maybe it's like, hey, I'm going to get that back. I'm going to take the PlayStation back. I'm going to get some money up. I'm going to do some things. And then I'm going to get you another PlayStation, once money gets back right. Maybe it is, I'm not going to get my nails done for the next 6 weeks or 8 weeks. And that'll be enough. Hell, that might be enough for a PlayStation, truthfully. So I'm not going to do that for the next, 2 months. And I'm going to get you a PlayStation. I'm going to get it back. But right now, I got to figure out this situation. Because like you said, we've all been at some point in the past, you've been down to your last. We talk about, I had to go get payday loans at one point, right? Like I had to do those things to make ends meet there. But again, I think a payday loan, pawning that jewelry she had on, like there's other options other than getting your kids PlayStation and taking it back.
There was. Give me your birthday money. Those were her 2 options. To depend on those were the 2 options. Yeah, that's who's gonna.
Like I'm not saying
Ryze's birthday coming up. He gonna get some money, so I'm just use that for my.
I get it, and that's what I'm saying is that's why I didn't ask the question as in this exact situation, right? Because I don't want to kind of get into the point of it's the mom's fault, but blah 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 blah. I want it in the general idea of I've got an emergency, water, it's about to get turned off, the light's about to get turned off. And I got this PlayStation that I bought 27 days ago. I can get my $500 back. Does that make more sense or not? As parents, as fathers, right? You got to make those hard decisions. And would that be something that you made? Like, hey, we got to take this PlayStation back versus me going to get a payday loan and paying all that extra interest.
Well, I got so angry I forgot a part of my answer. This wouldn't even be a conversation. Like I just would take the PlayStation back.
Yeah.
I don't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah. So there's that.
There is no conversation. And it is the mom's fault, by the way. I don't know if that's like politically incorrect to do. It's the mom's fault.
Yeah.
I mean, we just gave her several hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like to get money right then and there. And if she would have showed up because think about it. Hey, I pawned my rings. I did this. I did that. because she can have that. That could be the next video because it's still an option. I pawned my rings. I was able to get $300. I needed $200. I need another $200. So right now, I know it's because I mean the kids are trash though. I forgot to mention that. Buff, you're absolutely right. The kids are trash, and they seem entitled. Well, the son, because they seem entitled. I'm just saying they just seem entitled. Yeah, because they're kids. They, he's 13. He's in. But I get it. She has to do what's best for her, but she's done everything she can. Well, after she's done everything she can, and she didn't do everything she can. She just wanted to use his money or his PlayStation. Those were her solutions.
Something Razi said in his answer that made me think too, like, because I think you were laying out scenarios to where, she gets the money now and then she puts off getting her nails for a while and she can get the PlayStation back. There's a such thing as you just can't afford it. Like it may just be y'all ain't meant to have a PlayStation 5.
Right.
Not right now. So like we're in a society now where everybody thinks they are entitled to everything. Everybody wants to be able to wear Gucci. Everybody wants to have a Birkin bag. Everybody wants to be able to fly to town 6 times a year. That may not be for you.
Right.
And that's the problem right there. And I heard it in your answer, Rob. It may not be for them to get a PlayStation 5.
Yeah. I mean, that's what.
Yeah. And that's it.
Going to last week, we talked about like telling your kids about like jobs and steering them and like what type of life do you want, right? Do you want PlayStation 5 life or do you want PlayStation 3 life and Nintendo Switch life, right? And the Switch 2 coming out and that's going to be PlayStation 5 money. So you can't get a Switch 2.
Even then, that goes back to your original, when you started this whole show, Razi. This is why Klarna is in business.
Yeah.
This is why Klarna is in financial turmoil. It's because people feel entitled, but they feel entitled, but they don't have that same sense of
responsibility,
desire to pay it back. Yeah. It's because things come up. This is a perfect time for a use Klarna.
Mm-hmm.
There's other options. You can find stuff out there, but based off of decisions, and we could be projecting, she probably wouldn't pay him back. She's not good with managing her money, and the kids don't understand sacrifice. They don't understand responsibility. They don't understand the struggle. This is my money. I got it for my birthday. Cool. And he lucky this ain't 1995 where you had that money in a piggy bank. Your mama just took that too. Cash App allows, because in my mind, like, what does a 13-year-old need cash for? Honestly, like a 13-year-old only needs cash for things they want.
Mm-hmm.
There's things, I remember one time when I first moved back to Mobile, I went by my granddad's house over there by, oh my God. Right. He stayed over there by Booker T, Best to See. And I went over there, he gave me a little money and I didn't even look at it. I looked in my pocket later on, it was $100. I ran all the way home. Showed my mom what he gave me. She's like, okay, great, perfect. And she held on to it for me. And I think maybe a week or so later, we had a church trip. We were going to Panama City, the little amusement park. And in my mind, I got $100. It was me, I think my grandmother, something like that, some family members, somebody, and my brother, Kenny. And guess what? Guess how much I really had?
$50.
$50.
Because Kenny get another 50.
And maybe I had 60. Maybe she's 60, 40. I don't know. But in my mind, I had a $100 budget. Mm-hmm. And I think she may or may not have been working, or we had just moved there and she was trying to get a job. There was things. And of course, as a kid, I was pissed. And I was pissed for a second, but I knew my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know my mom didn't do those things regularly. That's not the type person she is. She's as wise as she can be with her money, right? With the money that she had. And so I get that you have to make decisions. Mama, you owe me $40. But, like, I guess that's the closest thing I can compare it to, is just money that I thought I had that was given directly to me and somebody else taking that and was doing what they saw best with it as a parent. And I was a little upset, but I got over it. And I didn't think about it again until this moment right here. But it seems like their mom makes that decision or those type decisions all the time. So let's jump into the next one. Who wants to go to the final question? Because we being rude today. I got
You know what, man? I'll ask this. I want to know from you two brothers, what is the toughest part about being a black husband and father? And if you don't think there's any difference, like if it's just, nah, it's not that I'm black, it's just, being a husband is tough, being a father is tough. You can include that too. But if not, what's the toughest part of being a black father and husband?
In general, or for us in our life?
For you.
Life?
Yeah, for
Okay.
you. Yeah.
Do you want to start, Rise, or you want me to go?
You go.
For me, it's creating the blueprint, because yes, I come from a generation of black fathers before me, right? But none have been in the situation I am in. Everybody's life is different, right? You only live, But I'm just saying, with the potential success, the marriage, the way we run our household, the way we're trying to raise our kids, and you couple that with how society is changing, to me, probably faster than it's ever done before. I feel like my dad's generation and his dad's generation, the generation before that, had more in common with each other. The things we're facing are all new, and trying to figure out what does that look like moving forward, and how do I create that blueprint, to leave a blueprint for my, to figure it out, to navigate it, to build it, but also leave the blueprint for my kids and my wife, right? Like, all this is new, bruh. Like, this is so new. If you asked me 10 years ago where my marriage and life would be, it wouldn't be here, because I couldn't even imagine where I would be, like the situation we're in. So every year, every so often, we're at a whole new stage or a new opportunity. It was like, I can't call my dad, even if he was here, and ask him, what are next steps? How do I do this? I want to get into real estate, and, we want to buy this house, and want to turn this into a rental property. I want to, what should I be trying to leave behind for the kids? And, make sure I have time for the wife, and how do I support her in this, because in the past, someone was like, you just show up, just be there. And that was enough, right? It was, the standards or expectations before me were completely different from the opportunities I have in front of me. And so I don't know, I don't know what I don't know, but I know I need to do. I know there's more to this. And so it's just, to wrap it all up, I wish there was somebody I can go to. I wish I had a mentor, somebody I'd be like, all right, nigga, I checked these 3 boxes. What's next? A coach or something. I don't have anybody. There's nobody can tell me, if I'm on the right track or not. So
right, we have to lean on each other a lot more than like being able to.
And we're going through it. We're going through it at the same time. Yeah. That's been the story of my life, though. That has been the story of my life. I'm leaning on my cohorts. I'm leaning on the people in my age bracket, and sometimes I have to let people get a little further ahead not to play catch up, to kind of let you see. Okay, now I need to buy a house.
Yeah, be a pathfinder for you, right? Like,
those are, but I can't let you get too far ahead. It's not keeping up with the Joneses, but it's like, okay, marriage can be good. Okay, buying a house. Bryce been trying to I bought my house in 2015. We got back from Afghanistan in 2003. Risey, when did you buy your condo?
House first in 2004, and then condo in 2007.
He's been trying to get me to buy a house since 2004.
Yeah.
I had the same GI Bill. Not the GI Bill, the same VA loan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I qualified for the same loan he did. I just didn't know. So
yeah. So, all of that, man. I'll kind of take it from a different angle, but it's generally the same thing. Not having that template, but it's having to explain to my kids they are different. Right. Especially, we've moved into a white neighborhood, right? I grew up in a black neighborhood. It was very easy for me to fit in, to understand the culture, to understand my blackness. Right. But I kind of feel what my kids have to go through, because I had to find an attachment to my Italian side, right? I had to keep that attachment. My dad had to say, hey, we are going to New Jersey a couple times a year, right? You're going to hang out with the Italian family. We're going to do traditional Italian things. And so that's what I have to do with my kids. So being a black father is very hard, because my kids are in, predominantly white school systems. Their friend groups are generally white, like, and keeping them close to the culture, making sure that they understand what the N-word is, and can they say it and can't they say it? Who can say it and who can't, right? Like keeping them close to the culture and making sure they watched Coming to America, and like just understanding the culture, understanding Black church, understanding all these things that we take for granted because we grew up in the culture. And so I think that is probably the hardest part for me, is just making sure that they understand their Blackness. And then on top of that, the differences of how they're looked at and how they're perceived when they enter spaces, and the assumptions that come along with that, and how they have to navigate those spaces, even though, because it's easy for us to do it because we grew up in that Black space. And so we entered that white space kind of already understanding how they looked at us. It's very difficult for our kids who grew up in a white space to understand those assumptions, because their friends look at them like the good ones, right? Like they are in the space, they're in the circle. And so, but as soon as somebody else Black comes in, that's when you start to see that kind of, oh no, you're still an other in certain situations, in certain situations. So that's what I want to make sure that they understand. And it's really, really difficult to have those conversations and teach that to them without coming off as the angry Black parent, or, just super pro Black and it's everything else is wrong there. I want them to feel comfortable in the spaces they're in, feel comfortable in their situation, but still know the history and know what's going on. And so, I take a lot of intentional moments to teach that. Leah laughs at me all the time when I'm like, everything's a teachable moment. And that's really what I feel. It's like everything's a teachable moment. It's like when they bring something up, I'm like, yes, but here's the nuance to it. It's not black and white for you, right? It might be black and white for your little white friend, but it's not black and white for you. There is some nuance that you have to navigate in that. And so just constantly feeling like I'm bringing that back up to them. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job, but at the same time, it's difficult to kind of always be thinking about that.
And what scares you'll never know until it's time to know.
Right.
It's like until the time to take the test,
Yeah.
This is difficult. This is extremely difficult for me, man. I'm glad I have you two here to bounce this off of, man, and answer, man. I'm gonna start with the husband part. Black men in general are looked upon to be extremely, I guess, macho in a sense. To be extremely just be able to physically protect and all of those things, and be the baddest MFer and all of that. That's what gravitates us to hip hop music. A lot of it is very braggadocious, masculine, macho energy. And so I have to balance that and not act on certain actions I would like to take in certain situations, to the point to where my wife over time has learned she protects me. She protects me. We can be somewhere. In fact, a real example, all class in 2019. Y'all remember how packed it was. She goes to the restroom. She had to pee a lot that day. And she was going back and forth to the bathroom. Bro. But she goes, and I find out, like, when we get back, that somebody grabbed on her during one of her trips there. And so obviously we back up here now. I can't do nothing about it now. But her reason not to say anything, and then you got to think, we had Sherman there, who is a certified hothead. And so, like, all our boys was there. So I would have felt the need to react. And who knows what that could have turned into, and what situation that could have landed me in. And so I think for me, it's just really balancing being smart, but not abandoning the fact that I will and have to protect her at all costs, no matter where we are. And so balancing that, and I for the white listeners, maybe white men feel this way too, but I'm telling you, it's a little different with black men. It's something that we are really, and our generation has really tried to kind of change that and be a little more different. And so we're not as toxic as maybe the past used to be and things like that.
It's a little bit of those white fathers or those white husbands can call the cops, and nobody will look down on you didn't protect your woman because you called the cops, right? Like for us, historically we just didn't have that option, right? The cops might come and arrest us, right? In that situation, we don't call the cops.
This is not our first, second, or third option.
Right. It's always us, and it's on us to handle it. And so I think that's it hits home because it's that, right? We don't have that option.
And then I also have to think about my job. Yeah, I'm not working at McDonald's where I get in a fight, and as long as I show up the next, like if I get arrested, my job got to know. Mm-hmm. And that leads to other things. So,
and then you sprinkle on the fact that there's this notion that black men don't protect black women, and so
now the pressure's even more.
I don't foresee that in your home. I don't think Tabitha will project that on you to the point she like. Not only do I know he'll protect me, he'll probably overly protect me. So let me just, and she does. I think that's great on her part as well, because I think we all are better when we're with a woman that makes us better, that knows us like that. So,
and so moving on to the father, man, we always say black people are not a monolith, and that is true. But we also have the saying of, I'm taking your black card. So while we like to say we're not a monolith, in general, black people expect other black people to, for the most part, think, act, behave, react the same. And so I'm raising a daughter, and she is different. And that's something her therapist has said, and she's told me, like, she said, I'm different. Like she doesn't like rap music. She doesn't dress like typical black teenagers or anything like that. She's not into a lot of those things. And I wonder sometimes, like, we live in a predominantly white area. And I know when she was growing up, I was giving her quizzes on Juneteenth and who Garrett Morgan is and who Ida B. Wells was, and trying to teach her the black history that I don't think she would learn in school. But I have to admit, I fell off over time, like the working the overtime and getting home late. And when you do get a free day, you just want to relax. And I kind of slid off. We were supposed to go to Point Comfort, which is where the 1619 Project originates, where they believe the very first slave ship docked. And we were going to go down there, still haven't done that. So I don't want to say I let her down, because I don't want to say it's a failure not to think like every other black person, but I do think there are some historical nuggets that she probably doesn't know, and that I have failed in teaching her. And so it's like trying to be that black father. That's why I relate so much to Blackish, man. I feel like Andre, the way he looks at his kids sometimes. I remember the Prince episode where a couple of them didn't even know Prince. And like I sent her a picture of Prince. I was like, do you know who this is? And she was like, yes. And I was so happy. I was like, oh, okay, right. Maybe it's not as bad as I think. But so I even struggle with saying I failed her, because what do you mean you failed her? She's not pregnant. Yeah. She hasn't been arrested. She makes good grades at school. Are you saying you failed her because she don't like rap and she's not like a typical black person? So it's that battle that I'm battling literally every day.
It's Carlton's just as black as Will. Right? Like that episode where he talks about that and he's like, I'm running the same race you are and everything like that. Jasmine can be different from a clothing and aesthetic and even interest and everything, because like you said, she grew up in that white space. And so that her friend group dresses like this and her friends do this and they listen to this. That's just kind of generally what it is. And I that's fine. And you talk about like knowing Ida B. Wells and everything. Hell, there's a lot of black kids that grew up in black communities that don't know who that is. So
that's a good point.
We went to a black high school. You're giving too much credit to what we think the black race is.
Right. Like Jasmine probably knows way more history and black history than most kids out there. Yeah.
Period. Yeah. So let me speak on this.
I appreciate it,
because I can relate to, and you're doing a great job. I can probably relate to all your kids, and even my kids more, is my formative years until I moved back to Mobile. I was that kid. I was super preppy. I was dude.
I remember some of that, like at Phillips.
Yeah.
I remember.
So Phillips, going to Phillips was that was my blackest experience until I went to LaFleur.
You had a good transition, right? Coming from that white space into that mixed space at Phillips.
Yeah. My transition, side note, because I remember when I first got there, when I got to Phillips probably a month late, I went to Booker T for a month. That was a culture shock for me. Because I was all about grades. I was all about certain things. There's things that your daughter, quote unquote, is missing in the black culture that's probably making her a better person. Like the focus on grades and focus on it. And not saying that there's not that focus on in the black community, but it's not talked about, or there's not as huge of a focus in a lot of.
It's not a priority, right? We talk about that in those schools, yeah.
So when I got there, I just assumed that you're in school, you want to have good grades. Like that's what that's what we're here for, right? like that is just. And when I was sitting there, and I was like, I've never been a nerd, but I get this, like, I'm a nerd because I read books and I spoke well and all this stuff. You talk like a white boy, and even to this day, I find myself having a problem fitting in to any one group. I'm very put it this way. I'm not saying fitting in. I'm very adaptable, and I've gotten to the place where I'm comfortable being me, but I don't truly feel like I fit in to one particular group where it's just like, these are my people. Like you were talking about rap. I listen to rap, but have you ever heard me just bring up rap music? Like I listen to it. I'm not gonna go download anybody's. If I like him, I follow him. Like, oh, this person dropped something. I'll probably go. I don't know who the hottest rapper is right now, but if freaking Jadena dropped a album today, I'll probably download that before I download whoever the best is right now. But it's okay. Like, I don't see myself as being any less black. I think, if anything, for all your kids, I would tell them to embrace being them. Embrace being who you are, and that's what makes you great. I forgot when we went to go see Sherman in Florida, and I forgot what I had on, and he's like, "What the Ferg got on?" And it was just like, I think Bus responsible. That's just Ferg, right? That's just, he is who he is. That's Risey. Risey will be into anime or whatever. Be happy with who you are. Be okay with who you are, and that's it. Because we're not a monolith. But we should all be proud of who we are, especially if we're good people. And I see all our kids growing up to be good humans, less focused on being good black people. Just be good people.
Yep.
And being proud of who you are, knowing that you're black, and knowing there's a norm that they should know. I think there's like some basic stuff they probably should be able to know, or at least relate to, just to be able to fit in those spaces. Like growing up in the church, my kids really haven't been in the church like I grew up in. So when I talk about church, those are things that I got to make sure that they understand. They can't really go back to Mobile and not know Bible stories and all this stuff. And, Jonah in the well, like, who's Jonah? Like, is that one of the brothers? Or, like, I don't, making sure that they're aware of those things, just because, that Christmas is about the birth of Jesus and not about Santa Claus and all this stuff. Letting them know those things so they're not going to truly be outsiders, because they don't like rap music. My kids listen to Kidz Bop. Period. That's the only thing that gets played in our house when it comes to the men in a car with us. Now, they might get some, like, I've seen that the only majority. They might get some early 90s R&B, or they might get some R&B or some laid back hip hop, but they're not really getting they ain't listening to whatever Cardi B's last album. They don't know. If it ain't a Kidz Bop version, they don't know, or let's say they don't hear it around us.
Right.
They're not around us 100% of the time. So, like, Sky's favorite artist, Ariana Grande. We're also in Texas, and she goes to a school with a bunch of Hispanics.
I think that was Jasmine's for a while too.
Yeah,
she's moved on. Really?
Yeah. She is obsessed with Doechii.
It's nice to see her get some love. I just learned who Doechii was like last year.
Yeah,
like late last year.
Yeah, man, it's just different, and I think that's the navigating the world we live in. That's part of it too. Is back to like the black. We've never been a monolith, but there were more similarities And now that we're expanding our horizon, those similarities are just, it's getting broader and broader.
Yeah.
The three of us just talked about the same experience with our kids.
Yeah.
That is the norm. That's becoming the norm.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bunch of black kids who are going to grow up in environments like ours. That's the norm.
Yep.
Right. And so what we thought was a norm is just different.
She doesn't know what year the last Mr. Big started selling dope. She doesn't know.
Hey man,
she doesn't know.
There's a bunch. She's not from Mobile either.
I'm joking, man.
There's a bunch. She's not from Mobile.
You laugh. I played that for Sophie one day because I was like, "You got to know this," and so I played the radio edit, but I was like, "You got to know this," and she was like, "What is he talking about? Like, is this selling drugs?" Yeah. I was like, "Yes, baby, he's selling drugs."
Yeah, I try to put Ebony's sons because they both have long hair. And she like it, and I put them on long hair. Like, hey, this need to be your anthem. I wake up every morning. And she's like, "Why you got my babies listening to this?" I'm like, "This is a freaking classic. Let me grow my stuff out."
Rest in peace, last Mr. Big. I've never had crack, but I doubt it tastes like ribs. Sir. I believe you were lying on that line. Man, I appreciate y'all on this question, though, right. Bro. I really do.
No, man. You're doing a great job, man. It's just realizing that the norm that we saw is not the norm. Our kid, what all of our kids are experiencing is their norm.
For a day, though. I would love to send her to 1998 LaFleur.
No, don't send her to 1998 LaFleur. Send her to Mobile for the summer for 2 weeks. My kids would not be able to. TJ maybe. Sky within 2 days, she's Mardi Gras is about as good as it gets for them. And I gotta let them know, like, hey, these kids built different. They built a little different,
right?
Even
when I do send them down there, if they stay for a week, they're staying out in Sims with my mom and my sisters and everything. That's not the real Pritchard Mobile experience.
But I love it because what's funny, and I'll leave with this: I'm taking my kids off the table. So we talk about the norm. A lot of my lamplighters, their lives, moms are putting them in our program because of the stories you're selling. Like they're going to these schools, they're out in these schools, and in their mind, but all these kids think they one step away from being in the streets.
Yeah.
But every year when like they go, or Mobile and Pensacola and Tallahassee and Birmingham lamplighters come around, I'm like, I'm just letting y'all know, these little Negroes are built different. Not a good or bad thing. They built different. I'm prefer they some of them they country, they from. I'm just letting you know. They build different. And then, it's like, I'll see them, like, I went to school with their parents, or I know their family, like, they introduce, I play wide receiver for a Blunt, or this one, like, these boys, they different. Y'all, they build different. And so you'll see, I guarantee you, when we have our youth leadership conference and we take pictures, I'm like, you almost point out the Houston Lamplighters compared to other kids. I'm like, y'all boys so privileged.
They don't understand.
They don't understand. So let's go ahead and wrap it up.
Cool.
So all I got, man, is first off, we just got to talking about fitting in. I'm beginning to feel like a man with no political home. I really am. And it's not even really the politician. It's like the liberals on the left and the conservatives on the right. So for obvious reasons, I just can't get with a lot of what the right is about. I just can't get with it. I don't even want to get into controversial who's wrong and who's right. I can't get with it. But then on the left, man, I just see a group that's becoming more and more intolerable. And I don't like it. We're in an era now. And I get it because I'm even guilty of some of this stuff, and I have to try to catch myself. But we're in an era now, you can't compliment Trump on anything. Yes, he's been accused of sexual assault, but nobody on the left ever brings up Biden and Tara Reid and how he was also accused of sexual assault. We just swept that under the rug and said, no, go Joe, win that election. I saw somebody say that Senator Chris Murphy is on their shit list now because he dared to answer the question and say, yeah, maybe we should have been a bit more honest about the former president's mental faculties, or maybe we should have urged him to get out a bit sooner. I've seen how the left has turned on Bill Maher, especially when he recently went to the White House. And he is still going at Trump and talking bad about him. But because he went and said that, hey, in person, for whatever reason, he seems like a normal guy. I don't know if he just turns it on and off when he gets on TV, but that's what I saw. He's on their list. I remember when nerds in the left loved Tesla, loved it. You know what I mean? And I get it, because Elon has definitely made a turn. I've always hated not electric cars, but Teslas. I've always thought that they were pretty ugly. But people who love Tesla have now, you're burning them and you've turned on it. We've seen what happened with Governor Whitmer. We've seen what happened with Governor Newsom. Anyone that works with Trump, they become being on the list. Even with Jake Tapper and CNN, they wrote a book talking about Biden. Like, I just want us to be able to be critical of the other side, but every once in a while, if they do something right, say something right, it's okay to mention that without becoming on the hit list of the left. You guys are looking so much like the right, so much like it, and it's just I'm looking at it from afar, and it's like, man, there's very little difference. I'm starting to see very little difference in the two sides. So much so, there are people on the left that saying the election was rigged. Y'all know who y'all sound like, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just want the left to be not like the right.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, because right now it's beginning to feel like I don't have a home and I'm about to I don't want to both side-isms and all that kind of stuff, but I'm about to just call y'all out on your BS. You guys become so intolerable that you may have created the path for him to win the White House in the first place. Talking to you, Michigan and Wisconsin, especially. But yeah, you guys are so intolerable about what's going on in Palestine and all that stuff. May have cost the election. So I just want to put that out there, and let's get back to the party that is truly the open tent party, that welcomes all ideas, and we can disagree on things but still move forward together because there's a bigger goal we're trying to achieve. So just want to put that out there, man. Other than that, we are on YouTube now, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Anybody that watched this episode, you saw me get out. I almost did one of those things that's equivalent to forgetting to take the meat out the freezer that your black mama told you to do. The missus text me is like, make sure there's still water in the pot on the smoked turkey. So I had to run real quick and make sure that all the water had not boiled out yet. Subscribe to us. We're on YouTube. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Not that active on Twitter, but we're there. But check us out and make sure you just subscribe, man. Any podcast platform, new episodes drop every Monday. Check us out. Content via Inspire You on Air. And check out 3buttersnosense.com because we got dope merch.
Yep.
Including new shirts.
For sure. Love that. It's funny. Coaching Little League, there's a lot of coaches that can't act like they can't compliment the other kid. Like if the kid makes a good play or something like that. Like I'm one of those coaches that's like, hey, good play second base, right? Like if you made a good play, you threw my kid out, that's fine. Like you threw my kid out, but that was an awesome play that you did. I'm one of those. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about with this political landscape. It's like, you can't concede when they do something good. You can't give them props when they do something actually that makes sense. I know it's hard with Trump because he manufactures crises so that he can fix them. Rolls back Biden's prescription drug thing and then says takes credit
that isn't his.
Right. Like I get it, all right. Like, but at the same time, it's like, all right, cool. You put it back on. Good job. At least it'll help, right? So I agree 100% when you kind of talk about that. That's why I always say I'm an independent that leans Democrat. I'm not like a Democrat hardcore, like, hey, rah, that's what we're gonna do.
If you need a dividing line, one party is not accepting $400 million jets
and gifts. So Trump said the government is not, or he's not doing that. The government's going to accept it. They're just going to give it to him after he leaves office. So he didn't accept the gift from Qatar. The military did. They're going to upgrade it to be Air Force One. And
How
then
much are we
after he
spending on that?
leaves, $1 billion. So we're going to accept the $400 million plane, spend $1 billion on it to make it upgraded to where it's good enough for Air Force One. But then when he leaves, he's going to give that to his presidential library so then he can use it as a private plane after he leaves. So technically, he didn't accept the gift from Qatar. The government did without Congress consent, actually, which was not supposed to happen. And then he'll take that after the fact. So he's getting a gift from the government. And it'll just be his security details.
Yeah, so those are the differences to me.
Big differences.
I'm well aware of the differences. What I'm saying is
how they treat
other people. How they treat. Like look at how we looked at his sexual assault. Looked at how we looked at Biden. We got people on the left who have been in Congress all their life, but they're somehow 100 millionaires. Didn't start no business, but somehow they worth 100 million. How did that happen?
Right.
Yo.
It's a lot of people are starting to entrench, right? Same way Tea Party became MAGA, became, basically the Republican Party at this point. Our left has kind of started to do the same and entrench and say, oh, now our left is the Democratic left is growing into becoming the Democratic Party, and almost like the maybe not majority, but close to the majority, at least the majority of outspoken people. And it's there. If you don't meet our idea of what the government looks like, then you're no good anymore.
I think what I hate is the mob mentality, man. And this goes beyond politics. Like, I think we posted it in our group, and I wound up watching looking at some of the comments, but it was like, would you date a trans that's like a woman now or whatever? There used to be a man who's now a woman. Would you date it? And like anybody who said no, they were like blasted. Like, you're so homophobic, and what is wrong with you? Like, it's a woman. It's like, damn, I can't even like not want to do that. Or it was another question. I think we posted it on Three Brothers. Like, would you go to a gay restaurant?
Yeah.
And anybody who said no, why not? Why do you think all gay people want you? It's like, I can't go eat where I'm comfortable. Like, like everybody has to agree the exact same way. And that's what I want us to get away from. We are individuals. We think different. As long as I'm not advocating
to burn down that restaurant.
Exactly. As long as I'm not advocating any type of physical harm or even any type of intolerance. I'm not even saying you shouldn't go or nobody shouldn't go. I didn't even answer the question, by the way, but I'm just saying, if you don't want to go, that's your right.
I'm not holding back anybody else's rights, right, to go or not go and exist. That, I think, is the difference. Again, go back further to the difference in the policies there.
That's all I want. I want to be the party that's like, hey, we're gonna take our vote. You still have your opinion. Like when it comes to abortion, pro-life versus pro-choice. I want to give everybody the right to do what works for them. For me, I'm pro-life in my house, but on paper, I'm pro-choice. Because I feel like everybody gets to, because you give me the option to be pro-life, I'm going to give you the option to be pro-choice. Because your decision doesn't affect me at all. You go knock up somebody, that is on you. Your child support, your pockets, your whatever you want, that's on you. So, I don't know.
Only thing I got before you close out for is there's a study. I've been on this whole like going down rabbit holes on all these medical studies, and there's a new study now where folks have, like, when your lungs collapse and everything like that, they're doing a story on anal breathing. And so they say that mammals can breathe through their anus, and so they are piloting a treatment for ventilation or anal ventilation where if like your lungs are blown out or something like that and you need to keep somebody alive, then they can actually insert a ventilator into the anus and pump oxygen there, and you can actually get just as good blood circulation and blood flow from the anal walls as you can from the lungs. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So we don't know. Maybe in the future, if something happens and say you take a gunshot to the chest and your lungs don't work anymore, they can have a field anal ventilator to help you survive until you get to the hospital. So if you see somebody that happens, then that's what's happening, guys.
You brought that home because I had raised my eyebrow when you first mentioned anal.
Yeah, my eyebrows are still raised. I was hoping that was the beginning of a joke or something.
No, that is actual study.
Yeah,
they have studied it in rats and pigs. So yeah, they may go into human trials. I don't know if who's going to volunteer for that one, but
I'll stop now. Let's all right, yeah. I mean, I got nothing. I don't even know how to follow it up. I forgot I completely forgot where I was gonna go. Happy birthday, TJ. Happy Memorial Day. All that. 3 Brothers No Sense. 6 Rules of Podcast. Listen, like, share, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, listen again. Talk to you next week.